Hello everyone, today I'm going to share with you my very first junk journal. It's more of a scrap junk journal than a junk journal, and that's basically because I've been sorting things out in the last month or so, and I threw a lot of stuff out or got rid of a lot of stuff that I didn't have room for, and a lot of that was sort of junk. And I've been wanting to do a junk journal for such a long time. I thought it would be a long time till I actually made one, but anyway, I'm going to have to start saving my junk a little bit more again. So not a lot of junk in this journal, but it is made up of scraps and odds and ends, and I got my lace scrap box out and used all the scraps in there. I don't think I used any like good new lengths. It was all from the scrap box. The paper line that I used is actually an old Kaisercraft paper line, and that's only for the cover. I'll just tell you what it is. I've still got a bit left of it. It's the Timeless Classics, that one there, and there are all the colours, and I've still got a few sheets in there, so I thought, well, I'll use that, and I used that on the cover and on the inside also. On the spine I've put a bit of fabric that was left over from making my daughter's curtains, and that's all sewn on, as you can see. There's a lot of sewing in this, not a lot of gluing at all. A couple of bits are glued on. That's mainly because I added them after I put the book together, and it was a little bit more difficult to get the sewing machine in there and sew things on. So that's a lovely bit of vintage eyelet down the spine there. This is just a little tag that Louisa sent me quite some time ago now, and offcuts from my scrap box. Even that little dangle bead trim piece is from my scrap box. I've actually used the Midori style of closure mainly because it was easy, and like I said, this is more of a practice for me because I do want to make proper junk journals, but we've all got to start somewhere and learn, and I must admit I've learnt a lot just with this little book alone. Yep, one of them is find more junk. So that's the front cover, and there's a little tag there and a bit of lace and a little flower and a bead. I've tied some pretty lace onto the top of the tag there, the front inside cover, and it's just a one what do they call it, one insert signature. Sorry, I'm new to this. It's just a one signature book. There's the paper line, as I said before, and the fabric went all the way around and came around again, and I held it in place with a little bit of washi tape, and I thought, I'm just going to leave that on and sew that on as well. That's what I did. Trapped a little doily in there when I was sewing the whole thing together. This is just a little coffee dyed applique piece, and under here is another, it's like a sticker, this one here, mainly because I just wanted to soften that mustard yellow colour just a little bit. There are tags and things in this book. I'm not a huge tag and pocket type of person. The books I make I prefer to be able to write in and use, but as I said, practice, and so it's all in here. That's a little tag I made just out of some off-cut paper, a little bit of lace, and it's just sewn together with a bit of string on the end. And then we have this one. This was a tag that Zeffie sent me sometime. She sent me 3 or 4 of them, so I just glued 2 together and made a larger tag and put some offcuts of satin on the top of that one. I have a little envelope in here with a little card, and it's ever so cute. Look at that. And even a little place to write inside, and that goes into that pocket. I'll put that together in a moment. Into this pocket, here. Now this this sleeve was all made from a partial piece of 12 by 12, and it loosely follows a tutorial by A Pocket Full of Vintage. Actually, it might be the same because basically I just tried to remember what she did, so it could be the same. So that was part of the paper collection, the music paper, but it's all white on the other side, that Kaisercraft paper. So I had some tissue paper, this one here that was sent to me. Just a moment, please. Whoops, sorry about that. My son lost a tooth. He had a loose tooth and it just came out, didn't it? So, okay, where were we up to? Okay, so tissue paper was used on the reverse side of that. It was glued on and then all sewn into the way it's meant to be. So we have a little pocket there and a little a tuck spot in there as well. Okay, the next page is the other side of this sleeve, and of course it has a tuck spot and just a couple of little bits. These are just little cutouts from paper lines from, I don't even know which one they are, because I think it might have been fairy rhymes perhaps or something like that. And I've just backed them with a little bit of lace that was in my scrap box and put a little bit of glitter on there. So they go in there like that. I have a stamp on the bottom here. I'm not real happy with how that turned out. A bit too heavy for my liking. And I also forgot to stamp some pages before I put it together, which made it a little bit more difficult on such a small size book to stamp it afterwards. So lesson there as well. I also think this paper, which is what is it? It is an old account ledger book that I found at the op shop. I think the paper's too thin because it bleeds through, and I really don't like that. So of course when I stamped, it bled through to the other side, so I had to put something on the other side, and these are just a few die cuts that I had, and I've just made it into a little tuck spot and put some tags in there. There's a little bit of lace behind that also, so of course they had to be glued on, mainly because I'd already put the book together. Here we have a doily, some lace and a bit of lovely scrap ribbon, and I've sewn those on. And I did see this in a lady's video. She sewed hers before she put them on, but I forgot to do that. I did it once it was another lesson then. And I will put some links down below to some of the videos that I watched and got ideas from, and that sort of have inspired me. And look, I've watched so many, I'm sort of getting confused what I'm seeing, what on. But they, you know, a lot of them do the same sort of thing anyway. So more pages for writing. I have some vintage eyelet trim down here, and I love that it's actually quite old, I think, and it's really pretty and just very subtle. I tried to, you know, stamp this one a bit lighter, but it still went through, so I had to put a little bit of trim on that side also, because I just don't like the way it goes through. You can only just see it a little bit, but it kind of annoys me. This is well, I thought it was a die cut that I think Zeffie sent me quite some time ago, and I thought I would sew that on there, and I sewed it on, and then when I finished I looked, and it's actually a sticker, and the sticker started coming up. So what I did was get a couple of bits of tulle and stick that to the sticky part under there and just left it, and I quite like how that is anyway. But yeah, it wasn't a die cut, it was a sticker. This page here I made a mistake on, so I had to, well, I did something on it and I didn't like it, so I cut it off. And then I had this really pretty wrapping paper somebody had sent me in one of my challenges, I think. So I made a pocket. It doesn't have anything in it at the moment, but I'll use this tag here. It's a nice deep pocket in there. So I put that there. So that covered up my mistake, and I'm really glad because I really like that paper. I think it's pretty. It's even still got the bits of sticky tape stuck to it in various places where the lady wrapped up the gift. This is some book paper, dictionary book paper I thought I'd insert, and that's a really nice thickness, and that's the kind of thickness I'd like to work with. I think it's not as thick as cardstock, but it's got a really nice kind of thickness to it, so I'm going to have to find some papers like that. So just a fabric sticker down there, this old tag. I made a few of these up quite a long time ago. They're just do I have another one? Yeah, I do. All they are is just offcuts of tags I was making, and they're like the tag was too long, so I cut it off, and I just sort of slightly painted one side. So I was left with all these bits that I saved for a rainy day. So I just sort of slipped it over the page like that and sewed around it and put the last of that sticker on the end there. Just a little embroidery thing there. I just sewed on a little quote there. And just in case you can't see it, it says, "She designed a life she loved," and that's from Pinterest. On this one we have more of one of those little paper pieces, just a little sticker over it, and a lovely little flower Zephy sent me quite some time ago also. Thank you, Zephy. And also that one there, I'm quite sure that came from Zephy. She sent me a whole little packet of bits and pieces, and it's coming very handy. Okay, so here we have an envelope. And I also got this idea from the same lady that I got the idea for the doily. I'm pretty sure it was the same lady, where you open up the envelope, then sew it, and then reseal it. The thing was, when I sewed it, I was slightly off, and so when I resealed it, you could see where it had originally been, and it didn't quite meet up, so I had to insert a tiny little bit of lace along that seam to cover up that mistake. See, another thing learnt. I've just lined the inside of this envelope with some more of that tissue paper. It's really quite pretty, and I've just got a couple of little note cards and things like that in there to write on. And I put the button there as weight, and I think the lady, I really need to learn these ladies' names because it's not an area I've previously, watched a lot of videos on. It weights the envelope down so it doesn't keep coming open. On this side I've just put a strip of lace that was in my box, and this is just a little leftover bit of Prima packaging, and I just thought it was quite pretty actually. It's just that plasticky. Bye, sweetheart. Acrylic type of packaging, I think. Some more paper to write on, and some more. Another stamp in the corner, and of course a bit of doily on the other side just to cover up that it's showing through. The other side of the book paper here, and this is a lovely die cut Louisa sent me a long time ago also, and I think it just looks really pretty on that page. And there's the rest of that sticker. No more of that colour left, but I do have that in other colours, so that's nice. And I honestly didn't know where I would use that, but I really do like it on the book paper. It looks pretty. On this side, this is off an old doily, and it was like different squares, and there was embroideries every so often, but it was stained, and see, it's got a tinge of pink to it. So I thought I would use that because I think the embroidery is really, really pretty, but I've sewn it on very crooked. And the thing is, once you start sewing into paper, it's not that easy to unpick it. So I just have to live with that crookedness, which is another lesson, because I need to learn to live with a little bit of crookedness. So I've sort of made it into more of a sample page because it has a lovely little bit of vintage lace, 2 pieces down here that were in my scrap box as well. So it's actually a pretty page, just a little bit crooked, that's all. Some more writing paper. A little bag with a stamped image on it, and that was from Louisa. Thank you, Louisa. Some tags that I've just popped into that pocket, and I left it so it opened at the back, and put another tag there. On this page, that was just a scrap of lace in my scrap box, and I just had a little bit of fun with it actually, and cut a bit of the tops off and have them floating in the air. Don't know why, just felt like fun at the time. Oh dear. A blank page, and the rest of that lovely eyelet trim down the bottom there. It's just the top of a spool of ribbon that I had some time ago that I kept, so I sewed that onto there. And then some more stamping, trying not to go too heavy, but the thing is, when you try not to go too heavy, it doesn't actually come out very evenly either, but it is that, isn't it? And I've just put that on there to disguise that side, and I quite like the sewing coming through there, so plus that was all I had of that particular trim. It's even still got a bit of thread in it from whatever it was used on before, so I'll just get rid of that. Here I've just got one of those borders out of an old paper line, and it's like a little tuck spot, very shallow tuck spot actually. A couple of tags. These were off some place cards I made for a luncheon quite a long time ago. When they were finished, I thought, oh, I really like the little images, so I'll keep them. But of course, that one's alright, but this one got a little bit damaged when I took it off. The place cards, but it's okay. And I've just, inside here, I've just got some little images, some photos of vintage ladies in there, and that's just a little tuck spot there. And I think that might have come from the Sweet Nothings collection, to be honest, that little borderline, and also that punch out there. Sorry, you can hear my children in the background at school. They're on their Easter break, so okay, so that's the other side of the punch out. On this side we have the other side of the pocket. This is just a tag. It's actually more like a bookmark, you know, because it's just the right size to, you know, put in the book to keep your space. I quite like how it's turned out. It's just 2 pieces of the paper line stuck together. This is just off a bit of curtaining, and I've just sewn that just underneath the hole there, and I really like how that turned out actually, and just a little bit of pink string to hold it, and that sits in there. Or of course use it as a bookmark. And then we have our last page, just an off cut of lace from my scrap box. A couple more of those place cards. You can see that one was also a little bit damaged in the center, but that's okay. They are sewn on, but they're also glued down because that is what is hiding the elastic at the back there, so it's nice and flat, and I can sort of write on things without anything getting in the way. It's not too wide at all. and it's nice and flat that you can. I think the only thing that would get in your way is the button, and if you wanted to write, you just, you could open that up while you were writing anyway and then close it back up. So there we go. That's my very first little junk journal. I loved making it. I absolutely loved making it, and I'm sort of walking around the house looking for junk for my next one, because I'd like it to be a bit more junky than this. This is more like leftover scraps from crafting, isn't it? Which is fine, just fine too. It's still, junk in someone's eyes, isn't it? Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you like my little junk journal. And like I said, I really enjoyed making it, and I'll probably be making some more. Definitely will be making some more. And I love the feel with the fabric and the paper. I really do. It's nice and soft. See that? It's lovely and soft. And all I did was sew it all together, just straight down the middle, because it's only one signature. So and in between the paper, because it's double thickness of the paper line, down the spine under the fabric I put some packaging tape, thick, I think I've used it all, a thick tape, just so it would be extra strong for the sewing as well. So always kind of reinforce that spine. So there we go. Okay, thank you for joining me today, and take care, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Easter, no matter how you're celebrating, whether you celebrate or not. Have a very safe Easter also. Take care. Bye.